Alex gazed out the rain-streaked window of his lonely apartment, watching the world pass by without him. 32 and recently divorced, he felt adrift and abandoned, an island in a vast, uncaring sea. His wife had moved on effortlessly, but Alex remained trapped in heartbreak. Each day passed with tedious familiarity, an endless procession of work, television, and frozen dinners. The nights were darker, dominated by restlessness and the pleadings of desire. In his king-sized bed, Alex's arms ached to hold another. The room echoed with the absence of intimacy. On weekends, Alex observed happy couples strolling by outside, painfully aware of his own isolation. Friends repeatedly encouraged him to try online dating, but Alex hesitated. The sites seemed artificial, even alien. Still, as Friday dusk fell once more, Alex pondered the emptiness of his existence. Saturday morning arrived damp and dreary, matching Alex's mood. The biting chill outside reminded Alex of the emotional winter that had become his life. He shuffled to his computer in sweatpants and socks, steeling himself. It was time to take a chance and seek connection. With a deep breath, Alex created an online dating profile. He answered questions about his personality, interests, and values, trying to capture the essence of his wounded but hopeful heart. Selecting flattering photos, he carefully curated the face shown to the world. Satisfied, he posted the profile and waited anxiously. In the following days, Alex compulsively checked his dating app, but made no meaningful connections. Some women seemed interested in only appearances, others were clearly jaded. He held out hope that someone would see past the superficial and recognize his longing. And so, his search continued. Friday evening came, and with it, an invite to a singles mixer. Alex debated declining, then realized more isolation was not the answer. He chose an understated but sharp outfit and made his way uneasily to the crowded bar. Approaching a woman standing alone, he summoned his courage to say hello. Alex awoke the next morning feeling disheartened by the mixer. While moderately attractive, none of the women he met seemed to truly click with him. Back at his computer, Alex gazed thoughtfully at the dating site, realizing his true soulmate might be just a profile away. He resolved to be patient and persist. By week's end, Alex's patience was thinning, yet he maintained hope. There had to be someone meant for him out there in the digital void. Pouring a glass of wine, he opened the dating app once more. Then his breath caught in his throat. There, on the screen, was the most beautiful woman he'd ever seen. The glow of Alex's computer screen cut through the darkness of his lonely apartment. He sat, transfixed, pulse quickening, unable to tear his eyes away. There on his dating app was a profile that made his breath catch. Seraphina. Her photos captured graceful limbs draped in black silk, porcelain skin contrasting with hair dark as a moonless night. Through the screen, Alex could nearly feel the luxurious locks between his fingers. Seraphina's eyes were crystalline pools that pierced his soul even in pixels. Alex's cursor trembled as it hovered over the message button next to her beguiling visage. Finding his courage, he initiated conversation, careful to balance wit and intrigue in crafting his words. Her response came in seconds, lighting Alex's face with an expression unseen for ages, sheer joy. In the weeks that followed, Alex found himself pulled into Seraphina's trance. Her mystique was woven through flirtatious notes, scattered amidst flattery and innuendo. Alex grew addicted to the dopamine her messages spurred, eagerly leaping to answer every chime of his phone. At work, Alex stole glances at his phone when his boss looked away, exhilarated at each new notification from Seraphina. In business meetings, he pictured her elegant hands caressing him, a welcome distraction from monotony. At home in the evenings, his laptop stayed trained on their conversation. On Friday nights when others went out, Alex remained home to indulge in Seraphina's intoxicating virtual presence. Their discussions transported him to fantastical realms where he was no longer broken and abandoned. With her, Alex remembered what it was to feel joy unfurl inside him once more. Time became marked only by the intervals between Seraphina's messages. Hours of productivity would pass in mere moments when immersed in their digital dance. In cruel contrast, minutes crawled by endlessly when her responses paused. Alex yearned for more. Soon, Seraphina was not just part of Alex's routine, she was its anchor. Meals were hurried so he could return to their exchange. His apartment became littered with neglected chores. Sleep was forgone so he could saturate himself in her glow. It was midnight when Seraphina finally made the suggestion that shook Alex's core. Meet in the real world. He had nurtured this dream for so long, yet been conditioned to its impossibility. Now, at last, they could breach the divide, if Alex dared. Alex could hardly contain his elation at Seraphina's invitation to meet face to face. Her melodic voice over the phone proposed a rendezvous that weekend. Alex immediately agreed, intoxicated by the thought of seeing his online muse in the flesh. But as the days passed, Seraphina's enthusiasm seemed to waver. First, she claimed a cold left her voice too hoarse for a date. The following weekend was postponed due to a friend's wedding. Her excuses and evasions mounted. Alex grew frustrated, yet he could never stay angry with Seraphina long. Her lyrical apologies and promises soothed him. She swore she longed to meet as much as he did. Soon, she insisted. Alex clung to that hope like a lifeline. Late at night, Alex lay awake pondering what was preventing Seraphina from taking the next step. Perhaps she was simply shy in person, intimidated by the idea of physical intimacy. He vowed to be patient with her hesitant heart. But deep down, an insidious fear took root in Alex's mind. Was Seraphina growing bored of him? His dreams turned to nightmares of her in another man's arms, laughing over Alex's naive fantasies. Then dawn would break, and her sweet messages would arrive, banishing his doubts. Friday came, and with it, confirmation of another postponed date with Seraphina, this time due to a sick aunt needing her care. Alex wished her well, then slumped on his couch. The weekend loomed empty, a reminder of the distance still between them. Seraphina's profile remained inactive that weekend. When she resurfaced, her texts seemed distracted, long pauses preceding responses. She claimed work had become very demanding. Alex wondered if she was burning out on their affair. The following Monday, Seraphina canceled again, insisting her cat required emergency veterinary care. Alex wanted to be understanding, but paranoia gnawed at him. In the garage, he gazed forlornly at the bouquet wilting on the passenger seat, intended for her. That week, Alex noticed faint rust-colored stains on Seraphina's social media photos. When asked about them, she insisted it was only paint from a home renovation project. Why then did it resemble dried blood in the moonlight? Alex decided she must truly be seeing someone else in the flesh, while only keeping him around digitally. The thought cut deeper than any knife. But he had come too far to turn back now. He would bide his time until she was ready. Alex deleted all other dating apps from his phone, no longer needing to search for connection. None could compare to his Seraphina, his elusive perfection. When women approached him in public, he recoiled from their flaws and vulgarity. At the office, Alex seethed hearing his male coworkers discuss weekend sexual exploits. He lectured them on respecting women beyond physical assets. Inside, though, he knew he wished Seraphina's intimacy was his alone. When his manager pressured him to join team happy hours, Alex refused. Socializing felt hollow and petty compared to his soul union with Seraphina. At home in solitude, he could fully devote himself to their affair. Friends tried inviting Alex to concerts and cookouts. He declined with thinly veiled irritation. Why disrupt his routine revolving around Seraphina? Didn't they understand she occupied his heart, leaving no room for frivolity? Seraphina's poetry and insights made all other conversations seem crude in comparison. The outside world became dull and colorless next to the passion they shared. When not working, Alex waited by his phone, anticipating her lyrical messages. Fantasies of meeting Seraphina in person consumed Alex's thoughts. He imagined greeting her with a bouquet of orchids to match her exotic beauty. Next, a candlelit dinner, then retiring together, limbs entangled in ecstasy. On sleepless nights, Alex retraced the winding path that led to Seraphina entering his life. It seemed like destiny, their souls bound together by forces beyond his comprehension. How could others not feel her infinite power? Walking to work one morning, Alex sensed he was being followed. The man behind him was likely sent by jealous rivals to sabotage Seraphina's love. Alex evaded him down an alley, determined to protect their affair. At the coffee shop, the barista tried engaging Alex in trite small talk. He cut her off, unable to stomach meaningless chatter when Seraphina's melodious voice filled his mind. Her visage followed him everywhere, inescapable. Alex drank in every pixelated photo Seraphina posted, memorizing the contours of her otherworldly beauty. He longed to run his fingers over her sharp cheekbones and silken curves. Soon, he told himself, soon, patience would pay off. The message Alex had been feverishly waiting for finally arrived. Seraphina was ready to meet him in person. She provided an address deep in the remote countryside, a quaint cabin far from prying eyes where they could indulge their passion. Alex's hands trembled reading her elegant script. In the days that followed, Alex was consumed with anticipation, barely able to focus on work or routine. His mind painted increasingly vivid imagery of caressing Seraphina, inhaling her perfume, tasting her ruby lips that had teased him for so long. Each minute crawled by slower than the last until their fated weekend rendezvous. When the coveted evening finally came, Alex meticulously prepared himself to impress Seraphina. He shaved his stubble down to the skin, then showered with sandalwood body wash. Alex picked through his closet like a madman, settling on a slim-fitted navy blazer and dark jeans that accentuated his best assets. A splash of subtle cologne completed his efforts. The 2-hour drive to the cabin tested Alex's patience to its limits. The highway stretched on endlessly, every traffic light and Sunday driver an obstacle keeping him from Seraphina's embrace. Dense autumn woods blurred past Alex's window, trees rippling in hues of amber and crimson, matching the desire burning within him. Turning off the main road, Alex navigated winding back roads that led ever higher into the remote hills. Isolated homes gave way to unbroken forests and stray farm animals grazing wild grasses. Still, he pressed on as guided by Seraphina's cryptic directions. Rounding a sharp bend, the cozy cabin at last came into view. Alex's heart thundered as he pulled into the gravel driveway overgrown with brambles. Stepping out of his car, the crisp mountain air chilled the beads of sweat that had formed on his skin throughout the intense journey. This was it, the moment he had played out countless times in his longing dreams. Approaching the weathered wooden door, Alex hesitated under the creaking porch. Nerves and self-doubt suddenly flooded over him. What if reality didn't live up to the fantasy he had meticulously constructed in his mind over the endless days and nights? Steeling his resolve, Alex silenced the uncertainties and gave the door 3 sharp knocks. Only silence greeted Alex's announcement of his arrival. The blood pounding in his ears marked the passing seconds as he listened intently for any hint of movement inside in response. The sole sound was the gentle whisper of wind through the towering pines surrounding the secluded property. Alex shifted on his feet, then rasped his knuckles against the door once more, firmer this time. After what seemed to stretch on for hours, Alex finally detected the faint click of footsteps from within the cabin. They approached incrementally, as though descending a long staircase. Alex's mouth went dry, words of greeting dying on his lips. This was it. The door creaked slowly inward, casting a bar of blinding light across the weathered boards of the porch. There, haloed in the doorway, she appeared. Seraphina had arrived. Alex stood paralyzed, unable to articulate the torrent of emotions flooding over him. He took in every breathtaking detail, her lustrous raven hair cascading over bare porcelain shoulders. Full crimson lips stained the shade of blood pooling beneath delicate skin. Her eyes that he had only ever seen filtered through pixels now flashed with myriad mysteries, penetrating to his core. She was at once everything Alex had dared to fantasize about, yet infinitely more. Utter perfection, sculpted into feminine form. The stillness was broken by Seraphina's sultry voice, equal parts melodic and seductive. "My love, you've kept me waiting. But now you're here," she purred. Her slender fingers extended an invitation, nails glossy and sharp as onyx talons. She was enveloped in shadows, with only the curve of her cheek illuminated in the candlelight behind her. Alex hesitated on the precipice of the glowing doorway. To move forward was to surrender fully to forces beyond understanding. His racing heart screamed yes, while his mind recoiled at the knot in his gut whispering dangers untold. Visceral longing overpowered doubt. He crossed the threshold, taking Seraphina's icy hand in his. "I'm here now," Alex managed to utter breathlessly. Seraphina's crimson smile widened as she drew him inside. The door closed behind them with an air of dreadful finality, shutting out the outside world. She led Alex down a narrow hallway, her hips swaying hypnotically. He followed helplessly in her trance deeper into the darkened cabin, leaving reality behind. At long last, they were alone. Seraphina led Alex into the candlelit cabin, the light dancing seductively over her curves. She guided him to a vintage sofa, its velvet soft and wine-colored like her luscious lips. They sat in charged silence, Alex mesmerized by her impossible beauty. "I've waited so long for this," Seraphina purred, moving closer, her perfume overwhelming Alex's senses. Her graceful fingers traced his jawline, their cold touch sending shivers through him. She was so close he could see the blackness swirling in her eyes. Alex's voice quavered. "I've wanted you since the moment we connected. I still can't believe you're real." Seraphina smiled knowingly at this, trailing her nails down his neck. She leaned in, her breath icy on his skin, and whispered, "Oh, I'm very real." Alex swallowed hard, heart crashing against his ribs. He had imagined this scene endlessly, but now found himself paralyzed. Sensing his hesitation, Seraphina pulled back, false sympathy in her stare. "Poor darling, you're trembling. Let me get you something to unwind," she offered. Seraphina rose elegantly and swayed toward the antique bar, returning with 2 crystal glasses of blood-red wine. She handed one to Alex, then reclined back, watching him over the glass's rim, hungry and expectant. The wine was cloyingly sweet, coating Alex's mouth. His limbs grew heavy, head swimming as the cabin dimmed around him. Seraphina's smile spread impossibly wide, flickering flames reflected in her fangs. Alex tried to stand but collapsed back, paralyzed and helpless. In a blur, Seraphina was atop him, her lithe body pinning him down. She roughly tilted his head to the side, exposing his bare vulnerable neck. Alex could only watch, heart seizing in terror as she opened her mouth, revealing knife-like teeth. A scream caught in his throat. Razor pain shot through Alex as Seraphina's fangs pierced his skin, his veins turning to frozen fire. Helpless, he watched her eyes flare with ecstasy as she drank deeply from his hemorrhaging throat. The world darkened at the edges, fading away. Alex clung desperately to his last shreds of consciousness, feeling death's abyss yawning beneath him. Seraphina finally released her vicious hold, mouth dripping scarlet, to admire her handiwork. She licked her plump lips with a groan of satisfaction. Alex could only stare back, broken. In his fading vision, Alex witnessed Seraphina's appearance start shifting, her beauty melting away to reveal the twisted monster beneath. Her lips peeled back from her blood-slicked teeth in a gruesome smile. "Thank you, my love," she sneered, her voice guttural and inhuman. The last sparks of life drained from Alex's body, his skin cold and vacant. Seraphina rose, straightening her dress, leaving only carnage behind. She stepped out into the night air, ready to disappear until her insatiable hunger returned. Alex lay robbed of breath and soul, her tragic prey.